Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to The Sims 4. Welcome back to another speed build. Today's part one of a two-part build, but you don't really have to watch them in order. But we're doing two houses. We're doing a residential rental, two full houses, but you can split them up and rent them out, which I think is really cool, or have like a landlord and a tenant situation. Today we're doing the first house. We're doing sort of like coastal stilt houses. I've seen a lot of these in like Galveston. I've seen a few of these in different countries throughout the world, so I think it's pretty universal to want to build close to or near or on the beach, and then put your house up on stilts so that if the water comes up, it doesn't necessarily wreck what you got going on. Having said that, we use the stilt space underneath these houses because it is The Sims and it doesn't flood as sort of an activity space, which you'll see coming up. But in real life, I don't think you would probably do that because the whole point is that you're like not wrecking your stuff every time the water comes up. Also, on the lot I'm building on here, I would imagine probably the water doesn't come up that much since there's a lot of lush greenery already happening. There's other houses on this little sandbar island thing. We're building in Sulani. I've been really just loving building in Sulani lately. So there's this one and the next house. And then you saw some beach houses before the Christmas events started happening. I'll probably get out of my beach era again at some point, but every time it gets super cold and like windy and frankly a little bit miserable here where I live because we have pretty good winters, to be honest with you. Every time it gets a little extra cold and blowy here, I get a little bit attached to the beach worlds in The Sims 4, but that's fine. I think that's probably, I'm not the only one who does that. In fact, I would almost guarantee I'm not the only one who does that. So the cool thing about this lot is eventually you will see this house finished and then the next house is flipped. Each house has a living, kitchen, dining space, a half bath downstairs. Actually, I think a full bath downstairs. It's been a minute since I've recorded these. Admittedly, I recorded these before Thanksgiving, and I'm actually recording this voiceover on Christmas Eve, and you will see this video, I think, like a week and a half after that. I'm fitting things in where I can right now. The holidays are magical, absolutely magical, but they mess with schedules a little bit, so you have to be kind of creative how you get stuff done. Regardless, it's been a minute, so I believe there's a full bath downstairs, and then there's 2 bedrooms upstairs and a full bath upstairs as well. And I think technically if you really, really wanted to, there's space where you could have like a teeny tiny little attic. I didn't bother. I liked a little bit of a flatter roof, but you could probably peak the roof a little bit more and get yourself a little attic if you wanted to. I don't think that would be that hard. And then of course down in like the first level is a full space for activities. I believe in this house it has like a, what do you call them? Jet ski is the brand name, but I think jet ski is the only one I'm coming up with. So I have like a jet ski down there, a Ski-Doo, which is also another brand name. Honestly, I don't know what they're called. Water jet ride thing, you know, like the motorbikes that go on the water, or jet ski. I don't actually know what they're on. It's like Kleenex. Everyone says Kleenex, even though Kleenex is a brand name. Technically it's facial tissue, but no one says facial tissue. Sometimes people say tissues. Do you have a tissue? But at least in America, it's very common to hear, hey, do you have a Kleenex? And even if you don't have like Kleenex brand, you say, yeah, I have a Kleenex because you have tissue. I'm trying to think what else you do that with. I know a lot of people say give me your John Hancock when they want a signature. That is probably a pretty strong American thing because I think John Hancock is an American brand. I don't know, honestly. There's a few. I know Marlboro is pretty standard when you're talking about cigarettes. Nobody in my house smokes. I think we're at the point where no one in my family, sans one uncle, smokes now. I've been kind of on people about that, mostly just because my mom is severely asthmatic, but also just like smoking wrecks your health. So, and yes, this is a hill I will die on, so please don't be offended, but also like maybe be a little bit offended if you smoke and I'm telling you it's bad for your health, because it is in fact bad for your health and you should fix it, because I love you and I don't want you smoking. This was a tangent. Anyways, you can see here I'm starting to do dark colored woods. I was originally thinking like I was gonna do dark colored woods on like a pink house, and then it started like the dark wood kind of, I was like, I don't know, and then it sort of took me a while, so I end up kind of somewhere with a mix of that idea. It gets much more coastal as we go, and then the sort of like second idea, what's what I'm looking for, like color palette ends up on the second house. So you do get to see both ideas sort of realized. It's looking a little gingerbready right now, which is very much on theme for the day I'm on. It's after Christmas for all of y'all when you'll be seeing this. It doesn't end up looking gingerbready though, I promise. It ends up looking, I think, quite cute and coastal, to be honest with you. I think it has quite a good effect. So, and I think it looks really adorable with the background. I think both colors that I picked in both houses, they don't necessarily fit specifically in the world as it is now, because a lot of the like base what's the word I'm looking for, like the starter homes, the homes that are already the pre-built homes are still here, but I think if we were to build up this world more, as we were to build it up more, I think if we stuck with this style, they would fit very nicely in the environment. They just sort of don't look like the rest of the houses on the block. There's always one guy, right? There's always one guy in every neighborhood who's like, I'm just gonna go completely different from the rest of the houses on the block. Honestly, to some degree, I think that might be us in real life. I have a little 1940s farmhouse that has been here for forever, and the previous house on the lot was like an 1800s stone inn. And almost all of the houses around, because this farm that I live on used to be much, much bigger, almost all of the houses around, with the exception of like a couple, are much newer because they are built on like subsections of the land as it had been sold off long before I got here, to be clear. My family has been in this area for a really long time, but our family land is up and a ways. It's a little ways away from me. Anyways, yeah, so it's kind of funny because we are a little bit of an odd duck out. I have a little yellow farmhouse in an area that is honestly kind of a lot of like mid-90s homes, which is not a bad thing, but I think mine's the cutest. I'll be honest with you. I might be a little biased, but I think my house is the cutest in the area. And when I say neighborhood, I do mean neighborhood, but what I also mean is, like, my closest neighbor is like a half mile away. So, kind of, it's funny, at least in this area of the world, a lot of times what ends up happening is you end up on these properties where it's very rural and there's lots of space between you and your neighbors, but also, like, everyone kind of bunches their houses towards the area where maybe the land sort of all meets up. So you do end up with kind of this little, like, almost neighborhood feel, because it all bunches up towards the road, but then you are all still pretty far away. So it's kind of funny because I'll say like, yeah, in my neighborhood, and a lot of my friends will be like, you don't have a neighborhood, darling. And I'm like, but I do. Give me a minute to explain. I do. So in this case, we just built our own neighborhood. Like I said, you'll see in the second one that should be coming out probably in a week. There's just a matching house with this, and I do, at the end of this video, you'll see, start to do some landscaping, but I do save most of that for the second video simply because terrain paint disappears, and a lot of the landscaping on this lot sort of defined the space. It was defined by the terrain tools, right? So I kind of held off on it because I wanted a lot of sand, I wanted a lot of natural pathways, and I sort of realized, well, if I do that on this side, excuse me, on this build, it was going to disappear, right? I sort of tried to use the natural. You can see where there's sand sort of creeping into the lot already. We just sort of play along with that. So I highly suggest, even if you don't want to watch the second one, although you should, just skip to the end of the second one and you'll be able to see all of the landscaping and stuff and decide if you want to use this lot. I think it would be very cool if you did. I really like how this one turned out. This one's a lot more traditionally coastal, maybe just like a touch dated, because it's hard to get materials on an island. It's very expensive. Like if you live in Hawaii or somewhere in the Caribbean, it can be very expensive to build a home. It can be very expensive to update a home because you are pulling all of those supplies from the mainland, which involves extra shipping costs, extra labor costs. There's a lot more insurance involved, things like that, because obviously they have to, you're basically like hiring a cargo ship, right? Especially if you're building something big, you're hiring these big ships which all have to be manned and stuff. It's not as simple as, calling UPS and having them come on out. So I did do a little bit. It's a little like dated coastal, but I think it's still cute, and that was kind of the intention. And then when we go to the other one next door, you'll see a total tone shift, which makes me laugh. But I kind of imagined that one had maybe simultaneously been updated more recently and less recently. You'll get it when you see it. But I really love the way this one turned out because it feels very warm. It feels very cozy. It has very much sort of, it's funny because it almost has curl up with a winter book vibes, even though it's supposed to be a summer coastal house, but because of when I've built it over Thanksgiving and Christmas. It has sort of that, like, I'd like to curl up here with a good warm book and a hot cup of hot cocoa. which maybe doesn't fit the vibes quite so much, but I think it works. I think it works okay. I spent a lot of time on this kitchen because I was worried it was going to be too small. I don't think it is, if we're being entirely honest. I think it's completely fine. I think you even have space for, you could put like a microwave in here if you really wanted to, or you could put some sort of like pizza oven or what have you. But I was worried because it felt kind of small to start. The thing is you have to remember that the island is also cook space. So as long as you have one cabinet, you're fine. And with the island being cook space, you have plenty. So you could deck it out a lot more. I didn't deck this one out quite as much because if it's a timeshare or if it's like Airbnb, or I'm trying to think what else it could be, just like a family home that you're not there all the time, then it wouldn't have quite all the personal touches. You know, it'd be a little bit more staged. So I was a little bit more careful on this side, on this house, with all of the designs there so that you could use it in multiple ways. Okay, this might be my favorite part of the house here. I end up putting the fish light over the kitchen, but give it a minute because I end up putting a school of fish over the kitchen, and I think it turns out really, really cool. Let's see. Yeah, there it goes. I was just waiting for it to come to fruition. See, they're like different sizes. They're so cute. They're going to end up being different colors. Oh my goodness. I love this. I want to do this in every house now. I don't know why I'm so in love with this fish light, but I am so in love with this fish light. And I just think it's so fun. And I ended up going with the wicker over the dining table as well. Not really wicker. What would that be called? I guess it's somewhere between maybe wicker and rattan. But even that's not quite right. There's like a word for it, and I'm blanking on the word, but that's okay. I did go with kind of some soft pinks and stuff in here. And I tried to go with lots of warm wood tones. I wasn't too bent about the tones of wood because I was kind of going with that, like, wood becomes different colors as it ages with the salt water and the driftwood and all this. I did end up putting a fireplace in here just because I own seasons, and even in Sulani, sometimes my Sims are like, it's cold, and I was like, a fireplace, and especially a fireplace of that style, probably isn't untoward, because during hurricane season, for example, which we don't really have in Sulani, but bear with me, during hurricane season and stuff, when you're getting some of those high winds and you're not directly in the path of the storm, so you're not evacuating and being safe because you don't have to, but like when you're just kind of sitting riding out some of those nastier storms, it might be nice to have a fireplace where not only can it keep you warm, it can take the chill off, but also if you do lose power, you can just build a fire, you know, those kind of things. I apologize, my nose has decided to stuff up today. I really hope I'm not getting sick. For you, this is after the holidays. For me, it is December 24th. It is Christmas Eve. So I actually am recording this quite early in the morning because I need to wrap gifts. Oops. I had planned to do it like several days in a row before, but it's been busy. It's actually been quite busy. I thought it was going to be quite chill. And I know better. I know better than that. Here I'm doing the activity space like I had talked about. This would be actually probably not a space that you would really want to be spending a lot of time putting stuff into because this is a flood area. The whole point of the stilts is that it is to protect your home from being flooded. But because it is Sulani, I was like, well, it doesn't flood here. That's not a mechanic of The Sims, so we can use it to store our bikes, our ski-doos, the things like I was talking about. You can see I put some different shelving up. I put some different like little boxes and things to make it look like maybe they were moving in. Maybe they're doing a little bit of renovation. Just put some plant stuff out and about because I like the idea of someone maybe being a gardener. Some more old boxes, just things like that. Right, things that kind of indicate hobbies. Things that indicate you can put hobbies in there just to give you an idea of how to go. Here's the first full bathroom. I liked the idea of a first full bathroom on the first floor. I'm remembering this now because you would come in from the beach and you would be sandy, right? And if you're super sandy, you don't want to go traipsing all the way upstairs, especially if you have like pretty rugs and stuff. Sand never comes out of pretty rugs. So I was like, well, this comes off the back door, which thinking about it is probably a little bit silly because I cannot remember if I put stairs on the back porch or not. But regardless, you could still come in from the front door and walk straight past the kitchen into this bathroom and still be able to clean up and hit pretty much only hard surfaces. As long as you don't cut through the living room, which let's be real here, with your Sims and their pathing, they'll cut across the rug. But we're not too worried about it because let's be real here in The Sims, the sand doesn't matter. But for real life, like you would cut through the kitchen or you would cut through behind the bar stools where there is no rug so you wouldn't get sand in the rug. and you can just shower down here and not track sand all over God's green earth, all over the house, and then have to clean a ton. In a perfect world, it would be nice to have maybe an outdoor shower on this lot. I don't have one, and I'm not sure exactly how I would do it on this lot, but it would be nice. Maybe it would be cool to have like a little like area for it in between the two houses. I don't know. I'm like trying to think about it now, because in between the two houses I have a lot of lush greenery. There's like a little fire pit area, kind of just chill. But I kind of kept them separate because on the same hand, these are two separate homes with two separate families living in them. So I was like, well, I don't necessarily want, I mean, they could share, but I was like, I don't necessarily, if they're coming and going on vacation at different times and stuff, I don't necessarily see them having a lot of stuff out to share all the time. But I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong here. And again, dealer's choice. If you download this lot, you can add whatever you want. Here I'm trying to add lots of greenery to the house. I liked the idea of lots of little plant pots and things. Add some to the fridge top, which I always think is so cute. It's an interesting thing to me that the fridges in The Sims do not have slots. I guess I understand why. It's probably just not necessary, but I always have stuff on the top of my fridge, possibly because I am short, and it's just a good storage space that I don't have to worry about. But at most of my friends' houses and stuff too, and my family's houses, everyone has stuff on top of their fridge. So it's really interesting to me that there's just never been a fridge with slots on top. In my house, we have the dog treats up there, some of the dog toys that we've had to retire or that need to be supervised because my Joe is a super chewer, and my sweet friends always give him toys, but they have to be monitored toys because a lot of them he will destroy. Like there's a little orange and blue bone up there right now that my friend gave him, and it lights up when he like throws it and stuff, and he loves this toy, but he can kind of only play with it when there's someone supervising, because after he's thrown it around for a little while and had his fun, he will take it and he will start chewing, and he's methodically peeling all of the orange and blue off, and that stuff's not meant to be eaten, right? So I have to like be like, Joe, what's that? Take him outside and then, you know, take the toy and hide it again for a little while. That sounds so mean, but it is, unfortunately, because he is just such a voracious chewer. I have realized while watching this, going back to the build, that in the living room, the set of 3 windows is lower than the set of the other windows. I will fix that before this gets uploaded to the gallery. That was not intentional. I'm almost certain it was just because the deck was there, so I didn't end up lining it up with the rest of the windows on the outside. Not a big deal, pretty easy fix. So I'll get that done. But yeah, there you can see it. It lines up a little bit differently with the windows on the side. So I'll just fix that up real fast. That'll honestly, I think, make the room, that room look a little bit better and a little bit more put together. So that is totally fine. On that front here, I'm putting a little bit of wall light. It ends up being very bright in here. I do think I'll remove some of the overhead lights before I put it up on the gallery. But I always like the idea of wall sconces just because I like the idea of different kinds of light. I get very attached to my tiny saucer. And I think a lot of people do, but I like the idea of different kinds of light. I like the idea of doing wall sconces, of, you know, older houses maybe not having overhead lights because that wasn't super common. You can see in my house where all the overhead lights were added after the fact. And that's not a bad thing. Although I will tell you, in my room personally, I have an overhead light with a fan. I use the fan quite often. I have not used the big light in probably 2 years. Maybe even more. I turn it on literally, actually, maybe that's not true. I turn it on probably about once a year when I drop something under the bed and I need every source of light possible in the room. Then I will turn on the big light, just because it is a very, very bright white. But for the most part, I am not a big light kind of person, which I think is becoming more and more common. There's nothing wrong with having a big light on. I just personally like lamplight. I like the ambiance. And since I have to spend a lot of time in my space because I work from home and I do YouTube and I obviously sleep here, I just like my room to be cozy, I guess, is the full stop on this. This is a giant master bedroom, and this is one of the areas where I think probably there's a universe in which I could have made this room work better or gotten another bathroom out of it or something. But I just, like, with the way the windows were and stuff, I was like, it's gonna be a weird bathroom though, because there's gonna be no place to put the tub. I'm gonna have to move the windows, and I really like where the windows are on the outside, so I just went ahead and made it a master. Although, again, master is kind of a misnomer because there's no attached bathroom, so there's no ensuite, or en suite, depending what you're trying to say there. And I think that maybe negates it being a master, but you can kind of tell it's the master. There's a seating area, there's another little fireplace. It's done up pretty cozy. I tried to lean into like a little bit of blue and coral here while still staying relatively neutral. I think I go for a lot of whites here, but I can't remember what I paint the walls. So this will be an adventure. Oh, maybe I just do the same wallpapers downstairs. Or maybe I do a blue. I honestly couldn't tell you. I think I stay fairly neutral in this room, and I think I stay fairly coastal in this room as well. Whereas the second room, I definitely lean a little bit more towards kids, but not quite. I was trying to do like an HGTV, like dream home kids room, where it's like, this is clearly set up for kids if you want it to be for kids, but it also could just be adults who need separate beds, you know, that kind of thing. I was trying to do that. So you'll see that here in a minute. And honestly, struggled with it like for a while. And then it was really funny. I'll tell you it was so funny. Because I was struggling with builds, which I'm actually going to be in the same boat here again in a minute because I haven't built in a few days. I was struggling and needed to catch up with builds, so I started working on these two. So I sat down and I like not rushed through, I took my time and did it, but I took an entire Saturday and I like built this one and I built almost the whole of the next one. And I was like, sweet, I have enough builds, I'm good, I'm caught up. And then I went, oh no, Christmas! I need to have Christmas builds. And I looked and I was like, I need to have 2 Christmas builds. And then I had another thing I needed to finish because I needed to move files around. And so I was like, oh no, I need to finish that. And then I ended up in a situation where I rushed through making sure these were done and was so excited to show you these, and you're not seeing them till after Christmas, which makes me laugh so hard. Makes me laugh so hard. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes a build, I'll get really excited about it and I'll get it done, and then it'll get lost in the fray. And I'll be like, yeah, this build was really cool and I'm really excited for you to see it. And also I built it 6 months ago. This is not quite that long. I built this just a little before Thanksgiving. So, like a month-ish, kind of. American Thanksgiving, I should clarify, which is in November. It's in, mid-late November. So, that's when I finished this up. And then we have this fun little landing space, which I turned into kind of a library space. Kind of just a cozy sitting space. Seemed kind of nice. It's got like pretty views, and it seemed like a waste to just not use it, so put some bookshelves in. I believe I turned these blue, which I thought was kind of cool, but don't quote me on that. Again, it's been a while. Yeah, I think I turned them blue, and especially with the yellow, I thought it was kind of fun. And then I put like a little chair. This was right after we got the Cozy Kitsch kit, so you'll see a lot of Cozy Kitsch going forward because I think that kit is phenomenal. I was really, really excited about it. I did not buy it like right offhand. I bought it a few days later because they had that weird billing issue. And I didn't want to be caught up in that weird billing issue. At first I thought it was intentional, and I was offended because to me it felt like they had given these creators a chance to do something cool with The Sims, and it was already like a little bit sketch about, how much they were getting on all this. And then I was like, you're literally pricing people out of even being able to buy it, so you're messing with the creators even more. But it turned out it was a glitch, so that was okay. It turned out it was more or less probably someone just misunderstood what was going on. Probably a miscommunication, no big deal, and it sounds like it was all resolved, so no harm, no foul, I guess. No harm, no foul, I guess. I suppose. But anyways, I love this kit. The Cozy Kitsch kit is so cute, and it's very versatile. It doesn't have a ton of necessarily true neutrals, but the colors it does have feel like they can function as your neutrals, and the styling is very classic, so it feels very much like you can use this kit anywhere, and it'll work. And you'll see going forward as I've been building, there's a lot more of this kit in different places because it really does fit quite nicely. I struggled really hard with this wall because I couldn't figure out quite what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted something over the bed, and then I thought maybe I wanted a feature wallpaper. I'm really struggling right now with wanting some really graphic feature wallpapers, but not the ones we have. I know that's so selfish. I recognize that is such a selfish thing to say because they have given us some beautiful feature wallpapers. But I think I'm looking for almost like this wallpaper that I'm about to put up, this very graphic flower, but without being quite so traditional feeling. I think it would be really cool to have some with maybe, I don't even know. I'm not even sure what I'm asking for, I guess. I just, me, always wanting more, which is a very selfish ask, but I think we got there in the end. We got a big wood wall here. It does change a few times, but I believe we end up going with a big wood wall. because that felt feature enough but still coastal enough, and kind of gives you that like, this is maybe a kid's room, it's playful, it's whimsical, but it's also like maybe not, it doesn't have to be a kid's room. I really wanted to use that what's what I'm looking for, canopy from the, oh no, it's the nursery kit, but I can't remember the name of it. Oh gosh, it's a beautiful kit. I love it very much. I was going to use that canopy, but then I was like, well, that leans very little kid, and I was like, do I really want to go with that little kid, or do I want this to look like you could rent this for your 2 like single adult friend Sims and a couple or something like that, or like maybe 3 Sims and you just Rochambeau for the master or something like that. So I went a little bit more neutral, and I was like, okay, maybe this is like a guest space that could be a kid's room. And that's where it finally started kind of coming together here a little bit, where it kind of all of a sudden was like, that's what we're doing. I still struggled with this wall. I think I come back to this wall too. I honestly cannot remember. Here I'm fixing some of the windows, which, like I said, I need to fix the wind sensors still too, because the windows were a little bit of a back and forth, trying to figure out where they went. But yeah, this room turns out really cool, and like I said, it definitely reads like it could be a kid's room, but I don't think it reads like it could only be a kid's room, which makes me really happy. Here's more cozy kitsch. I use it everywhere, honestly, and it gets even worse in the next build, because it honestly inspired the whole next build. But I think that's okay, because again, it is such a pleasant little kit. It is such a lovely little kit with such good, strong core pieces. Like, if you're going to buy just one kit, at this point, that's the kit I would recommend, because it's such a strong little like living room dining kit. Maybe that one, and one of the kitchen ones, probably Home Chef Hustle. I think if you were to do those two, you would end up with a nice amount of stuff to supplement the base game in a more modern way, and only spend about $10. But again, I'm also a builder, so I care much more about the build kits. There are some really lovely cast kits out there. I don't own many of them, just because I don't use casts very often. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about kits. We've talked about this before. I feel weird even like suggesting kits, but some of them are really cool, and I love the idea that they're working with creators now. But it does sort of feel, it's starting to feel like cosmetics in an MMO, where it's just like, we're releasing so many of them that you start to go numb to it. And I recognize you're not supposed to purchase all of them, and I haven't, to be so clear. I've purchased most of the build ones because I build so much and I love building. But even just purchasing the build ones, or being gifted the build ones, I've had that happen a couple times too. It's just like, this is a lot. I appreciate the new stuff, but it does feel like we get almost like a kit a month, and that feels almost like you don't get enough time to work with the ones that have just come out, like the nursery we were just talking about, and the artist's kit, which I also can't remember the name of. Oh no. Both of those I was able to get, but it was a busy time at work, and so I literally think I got to build like a little bit with both, and I don't think anything even made it to the channel before Cozy Kitchen came out. And don't get me wrong, I still want to go back, and I use the artist kit in the other house and stuff, but it was like, wow, I don't feel like I got some time to just sit with that and like formulate builds and stuff. Not a complaint, it was just one of those, they come out so frequently, which I guess is a good sign that they're not giving up on the game anytime soon, which I guess is good considering they said that this is our Sims game for a while still, which we've talked about at length and I won't bore you with, but it's interesting. I spent a lot of time in this bathroom trying to figure out how to make it really cute. It's a pretty generic bathroom by the end of it. Spoiler alert. I love these little tiles. I have yet to figure out how to make all these little tiles work. I love the ones from Lovestruck. I would love to go into like Sims 4 Studio and recolor them, because they're really cute, but they're very like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Stylized, which is not a bad thing, but it would be nice if there were some potentially like more muted options, or like maybe not square tiles, things like that. I would love to just, honestly, it's just a beautiful base plate to do more custom design on. So you know, when a girl has time, I would love to do that. And then we got that backsplash. It's supposed to be like a photo background from the party kit. But it looks like tiles to me, and I almost always use it as tiles. And that one's really cool. Again, another one where I would love to go in and just make more styles. I love what they gave us. Not complaining on either. Just would love to make more styles because I think there's so much possibility with those two items. And for those of you who are wondering, Sims 4 Studio is free. So if you have the gumption, if you are interested and you have pieces that you're like, oh, I love this piece, but I wish it was recolored, you can go do that. You can download Sims 4 Studio, simply recolor. There's a lot of tutorials online. That's how I learned to do it. And just like even this plant in front of us, a plant might be a little bit difficult, but like say you wanted a different pot color that didn't exist, you could grab that plant in Sims 4 Studio and give it a new pot color, things like that. And there's also a lot of people online who do that and then post their recolors on like the Sims resource. And there's a couple of Sims community, I believe. So, there's lots of options out there, but a whole world opened up to me when I was like, I'm just going to download Sims 4 Studio and play around with it. I still can't make meshes to save my life, so you won't be seeing any custom furniture coming from me anytime soon. I am definitely not a CC creator in the making, but every once in a while I'll be like, I just need a different wall color for a personal build, and I will just go make it, and it's quite lovely, and I do enjoy it a lot. It does bother me, this front porch space, that the opening does not line up with the door, but it didn't bother me enough to fix it. I think it's fine about 98% of the time. Here I tried to add these little like decorative things. I ended up not loving. I like the way they look here. I end up not loving the way they look with the roof though, because the way the pitch is, there's no way to like make it look super great. And I absolutely could have and probably should have put like, what's the word I'm looking for, the platforms there, so it would have looked nice, but I didn't think about it at the time. So, and here I'm just doing a little bit of landscaping, putting some plants out. Big fan of the palm trees, putting lots of palm trees out, lots of the tropical plants, trying to blend it in a little bit. Took lots of advantage of the fact that you can lay some of the plants over the edge of the lot and try to tie it in as much as I could with some of the existing greenery in the world, which I think helps a ton. When you can pull that off, I think it helps a ton. It is not always attainable depending on the lot you are on, especially like in base game. It's not always attainable to do that, although you can usually find matching plants that at least make it look like they sort of match. In this case, I was actually able to tie it into the outside world, which was really, really nice. This lot is really pleasant, and I don't build on it a lot because it has a pre-existing house on it, and I always feel a little bit weird getting rid of the pre-existing houses. I know that's silly, so I do it, but like I always feel a little bit weird about it, you know? Especially if I have a family in it. I'm always like, oh, like, for example, with pancakes, like, they're probably getting a better house that they'll like better, but also I feel bad because it's their home, and I'm just like, sorry, I need to make a video, goodbye, But anyways, guys, here's the screenshots. I need to go wrap, so I'm probably going to end it here. Wish me luck. I hate wrapping more than a lot of chores. You get a lot of gift bags from me. But I needed to go do that, so I'm going to probably end this here. I hope you're having a good day and you're feeling loved. And if you're not feeling loved, please know I love you. I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're here hanging out. You make the world, the Sims world, and the real world a better place just by being you. Next up should be some sort of Minecraft video. I'm not sure the order of operations in which everything is going out now. I need to sit down and make a list and maybe a calendar. But yeah, it should be Minecraft and then another Sims. And I'll be talking to y'all soon. Okay, love you. Bye. Mwah.